Okay, good evening. Welcome, Parshas Pikudei, Sipurei Maisius. Let's take a quick look at Rabbeinu's holy text and let's take a stab at it. Yitzhak. Okay, so until now we went through the the anguish that the Chacham, the clever one, is going through. Finally, he finds himself a place to live that is plus minus acceptable for him. That is the house of the Tam. But in that particular house, he's continuing with his chokhmas. So there are various things that Rabbeinu mentions here that cause him a lot of agmas nefesh, of tsar. First of all, he's requested to make a ring, and on the ring he's supposed to carve a tree, and he does a marvelous job, but the minister that wanted it is not happy with it. That makes him very upset. So if that ring would have been seen in Spain, where they know how to appreciate art, it would be greatly admired. The second thing is that another minister brings him an expensive gem, and together he brings him another gem that has a very intricate carving on it. So he asks him to copy it, that carving on the gem that he brought him. So he does that work, and he does almost a perfect job, but he is make a little mistake, a little tiny little, and he's the only one who can actually sense this mistake. So the minister that comes for the gems loves it, but that's not good enough for him, because had they seen this work in Spain, where they know art, where they can appreciate art, he would have been a laughing stock. And then, you know, he's a doctor, so they bring it, they bring it to a patient, and he knows that if this patient, is supposed to live, that particular medication that he gives him must work, and then the patient dies. And people tell him, that he killed him. Now, his the embarrassment becomes even more, and then they bring him another patient, and he manages to heal him. He gives him good medication, he heals him. So a lot of people say, it was just, you know, it was a coincidence. It wasn't. It wasn't you. And obviously he's filled with tsar. And then he goes to and the tailor, he explains to him exactly how to make a garment for him. And the tailor got the idea and made the garment according to his wishes, except for a mistake in the lapel, which he didn't get right. And this bothered him a lot because he thought to himself, even if it looks okay here, where they're not so particular about such things. If I were in Spain with a lapel like this, I would be a laughing stock. I would seem like a fool. And he was always full of suffering, said Rabbeinu. We already explained, when, the five madrigas, you can very easily assign them to, the five partsufim, the different kind of tikkunim that the person needs to make. But the main thing is that because of his philosophy, because of his chokhmah, because of the fact that he feels that everything that he does, he's the one who is doing it, and he in his own eyes he belongs to a world where everybody is busy, seeing what's wrong with somebody else. And amongst those, as we'll see weiter, this is something which is it continues. It becomes even more severe later on. But not only is this world it's a world that is this Spain that is going here, that is preoccupied with everything that is wrong. In this particular philosophy, it's not only other people that are wrong, he himself is also wrong. He's also a somebody else. Not only is nobody good enough for him, he himself is also not good enough for him. That's one of the most poignant lessons of the Chochem that the Chochem has to teach us. When we see that we are very, very bothered by ourselves, we should always know that it is because we see somebody else with a critical eye. Some people can come into a room and people automatically would feel a discomfort. People automatically will feel that, this guy is intimidating. The guy's not saying anything. Why do people feel intimidated by him? The answer is that he comes into the room and he looks into everybody in the room. And he automatically looks at what's wrong with everybody. What's wrong with this one? What's wrong with this one? And this one is like this, and this is like that. Now, somebody who is supposedly, that gives you, gives that person cover, whatever it is. So, for that person is like the epitome of perfection. Why? Because it brings me closer. Because it becomes my friend. It makes me feel good about myself. So him I put on a pedestal. But everybody else, since I'm not getting anything from them, I'm not, I don't have, there's nothing to get from them. There's no profit. So immediately I look, okay, this one, he davens too quickly. This one, he davens so slow, my fingernails are growing, waiting for him to finish my Esrei. And this one is ugly, and this one is I don't know what, and this one belongs to a group of people that I don't belong to, whatever it is. And this one is vain, and this one is a nabuch. And the klal is that I'm watching everybody, and in my own mind, automatically, I find what is wrong with each and every one of them. When I do this, it means two things automatically. A, my head is in Spain. My head is in a world that judges between those we're considered to be special, and these are, you know, it's, how they say, in this world they like to say that, everybody is special. But actually, what they mean in the world, everybody is special means nobody's special. Um, so we mouth all the right things, we're saying all the right things, we're making all the right noises, all the PC noises, all the politically correct noises, but we live in a world of judgmentalism, where we pass judgment of on anything that moves and breathes. It's a world of attaining, of gaining, of success. Why is this person not good enough? He's not successful. Why is this person good? Because he's successful. So Mimela, automatically, when I look at other people and I judge them, if they're good enough or they're not good enough, inevitably, I am entered into the fray also as a somebody else. I'm good enough, I'm not good enough. Usually I'm not good enough. Either I'm fantastic on some things, but usually I'm not good enough. Because I live in a world of good and not good, of judging good and not good. When I see everything from that point of view, inevitably, I myself suffer as well. So, this is the world of the sophisticate. Now enters the Tam, the simpleton comes in, and the interaction between them begins. The simple one would constantly come running to the clever one with joy, only to find that he was depressed and full of suffering. It's Bichlal already, we see here the involvement of the simple one with the wise one, with the clever one. Until now, we said that he didn't have time to eat. He had to work all the time. Now he has time to run to him, because now he's mekarv him. Now he's getting into helping him. Another thing, the give and take between them is not just one way. Whereas the clever one, we already know that he goes about everything the wrong way because of his cleverness. And the simpleton we see as somebody who, he is the epitome of healthy emunah, of the right point of view. He represents tmimus, he represents. So supposedly what's going on here, we can mistake to think that it is the simple one, as we'll see, who makes an interaction with the clever one. And if the clever one would have been really wise, instead of just clever, he would learn from the Tam. He would learn from the simple one and learn how to become simple. Bevadai. This for sure is true. But when you look at it, something else is happening also. There is an interrelation that, there's a certain shefa that is coming from the clever one to the Tam. Until he brings home the clever one, he himself, he doesn't even have time to eat. He has to work so hard just to make a living. Rabbeinu says in Sefer Amidus, if you want to succeed, connect yourself to somebody who is successful. You see that the clever one is really well off. You know, he's smart. He can do things. He is his own worst enemy. Yes. But nevertheless, there is a shefa that he gets. There's a bounty that flows through him. And when he meets the Tam, and the Tam is willing to open his house for him, and is willing to help him, now it also changes the mazel of the Tam as well. It's very easy to see what it is that we give to those who are, I can say, less fortunate than us, but definitely less fortunate over here. But those that are our way, those that are low, those that, you know, we can, without tmimus, we'll take a look at them and says, what are you suffering from? But by connecting with them and helping them and trying to help them and welcome them, we are gaining something else. We, as we see, until now, the Tam has to work day and night. Now, the clever one, we don't know if the clever one is giving some money for the living or whatever it is to live in the house of the Tam. We don't know that. But nevertheless, you see, the Tam no longer has to work day and night. He has time to come to him. He will constantly come running to the clever one with joy, only to find that he was depressed and full of suffering. So he asked him, someone as wise and as wealthy as you, why are you always suffering? Aren't I always happy? In other words, over here there's already an interaction. Until now we saw the Tam minded his own business. People were laughing at him. Didn't make a difference to him. Go ahead, okay. If you make fun of me, you're only making fun of yourself. Because what are you proving? You're proving that you are more clever than a fool. Anybody who proves that he is cleverer than a fool is only a bigger fool. This is what the quote unquote the world in Spain, this is what they do. Over here, the simple one is actually interacting with someone from the other side. And he asks him, take a look at yourself. You're so wise, you're so wealthy, and you're always suffering. Take a look at me, I'm always happy. No. In the eyes of the clever one, he was a clown. And he seemed crazy to him. In other words, here the clever one has a golden chance to reflect and say, you know something? Something is wrong with this picture. The guy is right. Ostensibly, I have everything, and he has nothing. Okay, he has a house. Okay, but and he lets me live in there. Okay. But he doesn't do that. He is so locked into leitzonos, to joking, to critical thinking. And the clever one looks at the Tam and said, he's just a clown. He's a joke. He's crazy. So the simple one said to him, in general, aren't the people who mock me fools? Just think about it. Because if they're more clever than I am, then on the contrary, they're fools, as I mentioned above. This is all the more true for somebody who is clever as you. So what if you're more clever than I am? You're miserable. What do you have of this clever? Because in Spain it's considered to be something, who knows what. And the simple one spoke up and said this to the clever one. Now he's saying something that in the eyes of the clever one seems an outrageous effrontery. He says to him, if only you could come to my level. In other words, if only you, a wise one, a clever one, not a wise one, I'm sorry, a clever one, can become a Mamadrego. In other words, put everything on Kodesh Baruch Hu. Accept Kodesh Baruch Hu, accept anything in his hands, and be happy with everything that you have. Because just the way you are is perfect for the role that you need to fill in this world. That's not what you want to say to an expert in his field, who's considered to be a maven and America's or whoever number one expert in blah 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 whatever. He says it could. So he answered him. It could indeed happen that I could reach your level, replied the clever. How? If my intellect were to be taken from me, perish the thought. If I would become sick, perish the thought. And I were to go crazy, then I would be like you. But you, to come to my level, it is completely impossible for you to be wise like me. Here we are talking about two different points of view that are diametrically opposed. At least for the time being, they're both right. The Tam is obviously right, because what good is all the sophistication for the clever one? It just makes him miserable. On the other hand, for the clever one, the Tam is just a fool. The Tam says, if the blessed Hashem, for the blessed Hashem, everything is possible, replied the simple one. It could happen in the blink of an eye that I come to your level. And the clever one laughed a lot about this. Let's put it together. For the clever one, the thing that counts is superiority, is sophistication, is excellence. The entire world for him is built of levels, of one higher than the other. If I am here and you are higher than me, then I'm supposed to be higher than you. Or if you're below me, then, we mentioned it once before. It's not only American. It's by many cultures around the world. In America, as we said, when people meet, when strangers meet together, the first question that they ask is, what do you do? What do you do basically means, who are you? Are you something that's considered mechobadik? It's an honorable position? Or not? I told a story about that I had an interaction that I had with somebody, used to be a neighbor of mine. And this guy is somebody who is not one of the more successful ones. And he used to look at me as like, I'm in advertising and this and like, like, you know, somebody was coming out looking like a new King Kong, like, heavy duty guy. So the time he asked me, I met him and he, timidly asked me like, what are you doing these days? Well, that time, I told this story already before. At that time, I had upon a hard time. I didn't have any income, so I went to work in the supermarket as a cashier. So I told him I'm a cashier in a supermarket. And this guy that used to look up to me as, Mr. Successful, I don't know why, but nevertheless, because I am in, what do I do? I do something that's going to be like, wow, man, check him out. And I told him I'm working as a cashier in a supermarket. He said, oh, that's nice. And just turned away and walked away. If I'm a cashier in a supermarket, I'm a nobody. In other words, as B'ezrat Hashem, when we'll learn this story, the magnificent story of the Baal Tefillah, we will see that the class, the world that is built of classes, those on the lower class are keeping the structure just as zealously as those who are in higher class, who belong to higher class, or at least they think they belong to higher class. In America, the thing is that work is in order to show who you are, and basically money is the proof of who you are. What kind of car do you drive? I drive a Ford. But you stop at driving a Ford. Before a Ford, you don't have a car at all. Now you're driving a Ford. Or after a Ford, you work yourself up, and now you become a person who is driving an Audi. Now you are somebody who's more worthwhile. And then from driving an Audi, whatever it is, now you are driving a Jaguar. Now you have arrived. You have made it. Now you're driving a Jaguar. But then the thing is that it's not the end of the game. It's not an end game. Because from a Jaguar, you can go up to a Mercedes. Now you're somebody who's driving a Mercedes. But the beauty of the system, quote unquote, is that that's not the end of the road. From a Mercedes, you can become somebody who's driving a Bentley. A Bentley? And those that cannot even afford cars are revering the Bentley. So that somebody who drives a Bentley, for them, in the whole system, is Moshe Goyce, is Mr. Big. If there were no people on the lower rung that are admiring the very thought of a Bentley or a Rolls Royce, owning a Rolls Royce wouldn't mean anything. As they say in Texas, you would be all hat and no cattle. There'd be too many chiefs and no Indians. You need somebody who doesn't have in order for what you have to mean anything. That's the world of the clever one. The Chacham on the other, I mean the Tam on the other hand, he represents a world that, per definition, is perfect. There's nothing wrong. There's really nothing wrong. Things can be painful. Yes. Things can be unpleasant. Yes. But there's nothing wrong. Everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. You are exactly who you're supposed to be. And he tells the clever one, I mean, from your world, you're looking down at me. People look at me and make fun of how unsophisticated I am, but they're really fools. You know, and the more they prove their superiority, the bigger fools they become. I'm not in the game at all. But for the clever one, this thing doesn't make any sense at all. The thing that actually entraps the clever one, and it's something that we need to learn, me and you and everyone, is that the clever one is trapped by his sophistication, like a monkey is being trapped in Africa by a hazelnut or a piece of fruit that they love. They say, in Africa, they say the story one way. In Japan, they say the story in another way. But it's exactly the same story. How do you catch a monkey in Africa? You build a trap, some kind of a jar or whatever, and in it you put something, a fruit or a piece of food that is very precious for the monkey. So the monkey puts his hand into the jar and grabs the I don't know, whatever the fruit is or the food is, whatever it is, and he grabs it and wants to take it out. But now he can't take it out because his fisted hand with that thing in his hand cannot come out of the hole. In order for him to extricate himself from the trap, he has to let go of the prize. He can't do that. He wants the prize so much. The allure of the prize is so strong that even though, while you hold it in your hand, you're trapped. And they'll catch you. But you can't give up the prize. In Japan, they say the same story about an octopus. In the East, they will eat absolutely anything and everything. So this is how do you catch an octopus? Octopuses are notoriously clever. So this is the way that you catch them is with a red rag. That you catch a red rag and with something, you tie it up to something, and the octopus comes and catches it, and it wants the rag, and won't let go until you come and you catch this very sophisticated and clever animal, because it won't let go of the prize. The allure of superiority, beauty, sophistication, whatever you want to call it, that very thing that traps you, that condemns a person to a life of misery, all you need to do is just let go. But that's the source of my pride and joy. That's that's all I know. That's how I measure greatness. That's how I always did. When I was a kid, there was some kind of a system of who's on top and who's on the bottom, and I sort of like put myself in a certain slot where I felt that I'm in the race, and I managed to come up, and I managed to come up, and I managed to come up, and I hold the prize in my hand. It's making me miserable. Yeah, but that's what I know. That's the prize. Rabbeinu says that the Yetzer runs around in the world with a closed hand. And he comes to everybody and he asks him, what do I have in my hand? What do I have in my hand? What do I have in my hand? And everybody runs after him because everybody imagines that what the Yetzer has in his hand is what he wants or she wants. At the end, the Yetzer just opens up the hand and there's nothing in it. I remember the Shomashik used to say, a baby is born with a fisted hand. Like he's going to capture the entire world. He says when a person dies, the hands, are flat out, they're unfisted. You get nothing out of this world. You don't get anything from this world. There's no profit. You cannot take anything from this world with you. The only way that you can is if you let go. If the monkey has his hand in the cookie jar and he's willing to let go of the cookie, he's able to take out his hand and save himself. But holding on to the cookie is so precious that he is doomed to be trapped until they come, whatever it is, they capture him or whatever they do to him. This is us. This is the clever one. Yeah, but, if I allow myself just to do this, if I allow myself just to watch movies, if I allow myself just, whatever it is each one of us allows himself, to look or to speak or to whatever it is that I allow myself, maybe allow myself just to fantasize. I don't know. Every person, according to where he is, but to let go of that is to let go of the magic. It's to let go of the illusion. To let go of the beauty. To let go of the drama. To let go of my story. To let go of my anger. To let go of all the things that in my own mind defined me. Let go. In order to escape, and you'll be happy. And somebody who is into that system, especially if he's successful, he's miserable as heck. But if he's such an expert like this clever one is, forget it. He looks at you when you tell him, let go of the cookie and you will save your life. And he looks at you and says, you are nuts. You're crazy. You're a clown. You're a joke. So the Tam tells him, I wish that you can come to my Madrega. And the clever one misunderstands that as well. He says, in order for me to come to your madriga means I have to become stupid. But that's wrong. The only thing that you need to give up is to give up your definition of self-esteem, that it depends on your excellence. The Tam says to him, by Kosh Bo, everything is, I can, in an instant, a blink of an eye, I can become like you are. In other words, the Tam tells him as follows: I have absolutely everything that I need to have in order for me to fulfill my role in this world. If I need to become as sophisticated and clever as you are, I will become as immediately. Where does this asoga come from? It comes from the fact that he is already changed. The Tam is already changed. His muzzle is already going up. But the thing is that now he has time to pay attention to the clever one. He doesn't have to work day and night. His life has changed, but that does not change, and we'll see that particular theme continuing. That the Tam actually keeps on going up and up and up in the world, but he never lets go of his tmimus. If you realize that you are just good enough as you are, you can become as good as anybody else at anything else, at whatever it is that is necessary. There's no need for anything else. There's a deeper Indian also that the Baal HaTanya says that basically, the Sefer HaTanya is called Sifrim Shel Beinonim. It's the Sefer that people that don't have neshamas of tzaddikim, they can bring themselves to a level where they will never do an aveir, ever. Tremendous madriga. What happens then? Imagine you already got yourself to a madriga of a beinonus. The Baal HaTanya says, of a beinoni, the Baal HaTanya says that when a person is reaching the madriga of a beinoni, there can be an incarnation of neshama of a tzaddik in him to help him to do the quantum leap from, just being a beinoni to becoming a tzaddik. When there's a need for him to reach the next madriga, mishamayim, to give him a neshama of a tzaddik that incarnates in him. Arizal in Shar Gilgulim explains a lot this whole Indian of, what's the pshat of a complete incarnation when a person actually dies and is born as a new person, and then there's what we call a partial incarnation where a neshama, there's one neshama that is the main neshama of the body, and another neshama, when he does a certain mitzvah or whatever he does, he reaches a certain level in ruchnius. There is a neshama of a tzaddik that incarnates in him. He doesn't realize that. His own point of view is of himself to say, the way he always saw himself, but there's another neshama in him that brings him to a totally different level. And this is where the neshama that tzaddik aber in him. We find this the first time that it happened is when Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, when he sacrifices himself and he kills Zimri and Kozbi Bas Tzur, Kodesh Baruch Hu gives him bris kehunas olam. he becomes a Kohen. What happened is that Pinchas was quote unquote a loser, as it were. What happened is Aaron and his sons became Kohanim. All the children that were born from Kohanim obviously were Kohanim. The problem is that Pinchas was in a no man's land. He was the son of Elazar, the son of Aaron. He was Aaron's grandchild before his father and grandfather became Kohanim. So Aaron and Elazar became Kohanim, but Pinchas was not. He was locked outside. When he did whatever he did, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, okay, he's going to be a Kohen too. I'm giving a Bris Shalom. What is this? Is this kind of a protectia? What is this? You know, he did something, so I'm going to give him a medal. What happened was, obviously, yes, but what happened was that the two children of Aaron HaKohen, Nadav and Avihu, that passed away during the 8th days of the inauguration of the Mishkan, they became incarnated in Pinchas. Pinchas was actually now having a neshama of a kohen. And the same neshama afterwards incarnated again in Eliyahu Novi. And Eliyahu Novi, it reached such perfection that Eliyahu Novi no longer had to die. His body actually went up to Shemayim. The Talmud is telling him, if I need this, if that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, I can come to your Madrega in a snap of a finger, a blink of an eye. If that's what I need, I will be there. But for you to come to my Madrega, you have to let go of the cookie. And this you're not willing to do. In fact, the Chacham, as we'll see, is not just not willing to let go of the cookie. He is in total denial. For him, holding on to the cookie is the meaning of everything. But Baruch Hashem, we have the tzaddik, and we're connected to the tzaddik. And the koyach of the tzaddik, Be'ezrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, will give us the koyach, the strength of character, the conviction, the emunah, the surrender to let go of the cookie, so we can take our hand out of the cookie jar and save ourselves. So it's not only oily if you're oimer, oily in lo oimer. Woe to me if I say, woe to me if I don't say. Oily mi yitzri, oily mi yitzri. Woe to me from my Yetzirah, woe to me, from my Creator. If I listen to this one will punish me. If I listen to this one will punish me. Just let go. That Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help us. That Hashem, this Wednesday, we will continue in Yetz Hashem learning Torah Chav Gimel, Likutei Moharan, here in Zoom, the same place. And Thursday, Yetz Hashem, we will continue learning Torah Memtes. So I wish, first of all, each and every one of you, Hashem, a fantastic week, health and wealth and everything that comes along with it, all the madrigas in the world. This year is for the Refuah Shlema of Caroline Selma Bas Florence of Fega. Hashem should be healthy, going home, and everything will be fine with her, and she'll feel good, and everything is okay. Also for Shlema for Reb Nosson ben Miriam, Eliyahu ben Fortuna, Belezer ben Etya, Simcha ben Miriam Chana, and Sigalit bat Rus, and everybody. Now, so it needs a Refuah Shlema and gesund and stark and everything good.